The crowd inside the old wooden barn burst into laughter the moment they saw him a limping, bleeding German shepherd shoved into a rusty metal cage, once a respected police K9. Now thrown away like trash. Starting price? $1. The auctioneer shouted. People laughed even louder, but the dog didn't growl. He didn't bark. He simply lowered his head, as if accepting that his life, his service, his loyalty meant nothing anymore. Then everything changed. A little girl stepped out from the crowd, barely tall enough to see over the railing. She clutched a wrinkled dollar bill in her tiny hand, her eyes fixed on the broken dog no one wanted. Before anyone could stop her, she raised her hand and said softly but firmly, "I'll buy him." The barn went silent. Because no one expected what happened next. And what this little girl did would shock the entire town. Before we start, make sure to hit like, subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The barn smelled of hay and dust, but beneath it lingered something colder: neglect. In the far corner, inside a rusted iron cage barely large enough for him to stand, sat a German shepherd once known as Sergeant Rex, one of the most decorated K9 south in the county. His coat, once a gleaming mix of black and tan, was now matted with mud and dried blood. A scar cut across his muzzle, and his left eye was swollen from an injury no one bothered to treat. He had saved lives, stopped criminals. Found missing children, protected officers, with every beat of his loyal heart. But today, none of that mattered. Today he was just the broken dog in cage number 4. The officers who once praised him had quietly abandoned him after he was wounded during a drug raid. The department had cut funding. The new chief wanted healthy dogs only, and Rex, limping, bleeding, traumatized, was deemed unfit for service. So they left him here. At an auction. To be sold like junk. Rex lay with his head on his paws, breathing shallowly, every movement sending pain through his ribs. People walked past, whispering, pointing at him with pity or disgust. Poor thing, not worth feeding. He's done for. He didn't growl. He didn't bark. He didn't even lift his head. He had already accepted his fate until a small shadow moved across the dirt floor. Soft footsteps approached the cage lighter, hesitant, curious. Rex opened one tired eye and saw a pair of tiny shoes. Then a purple jacket. Then the round, innocent face of a little girl, staring at him as if the world had stopped around them both. Her eyes didn't show pity. They showed something he hadn't seen in months. Hope. The auction barn buzzed with restless chatter. Chickens, goats, even old farm dogs were being sold off like used tools. Laughter echoed off the rafters, sharp and careless, mixing with the calls of the auctioneer who barked numbers as if nothing in the world mattered except the next bid. But when the workers dragged Rex's cage into the center of the barn, the atmosphere changed, not because anyone cared, but because the sight of him stirred a different kind of reaction. "Look at that one," a man muttered, barely standing. "Who'd waste money on that?" People chuckled, shaking their heads. A few stepped closer, not out of kindness but morbid curiosity. Rex's ears twitched at the noise, but he didn't lift his head. Pain and exhaustion weighed him down like chains. The auctioneer, an older man with a dusty hat and a voice that boomed like thunder, tapped his microphone. "All right, folks," he said, half laughing. "Next up is this here. Police dog." A ripple went through the crowd. "Police dog? This mangled, trembling creature," the auctioneer continued, "got injured on duty apparently. Department didn't want him no more. Vet says he's too far gone to fix, so let's save time and start him cheap." People snickered. "Starting price?" The auctioneer paused dramatically, letting the cruelty settle in the air. $1. A wave of laughter rolled across the barn. $1 for a useless mutt!" Someone called out, "He ain't worth the bullet it'd take to put him down." Another added. Rex flinched at the noise. The auctioneer scanned the crowd. "Anyone? $1? That's all it takes." Silence. No hands raised. No voices called out. He was worth less than the rusty cage holding him. But at the back of the barn, a little girl's hand slowly lifted. Her voice small but steady. "I'll buy him." Lily Parker had no idea her life would change that morning. She wasn't supposed to be at the auction at all. Her father had planned to drop off a few old tools, grab coffee and head home. But Lily had begged him to let her explore the barn animals. Her crumpled single-dollar bill tucked safely in her jacket. Pocket dot, she called it her special. Dollar, her father called it a snack money. Dollar, neither of them knew it was about to become. Something far more powerful dot as Lily skipped alongside her father. Her small boots crunching over the straw-covered floor, she stopped suddenly frozen mid-step. Her eyes locked on something no one else seemed willing to look at. The cage. The dog, the pain in his eyes. Her breath caught as she approached slowly, as if drawn by an invisible thread. The chatter and laughter of the crowd faded behind her. Lily's world shrank to the space between her and the broken German Shepherd. Inside that rusty cage. Rex lifted his head slightly as if sensing the softness in her tiny footsteps. His vision blurred from exhaustion, but the moment his gaze met Lily's, his battered ears twitched and something old and fragile flickered inside him. Recognition. Hope? He wasn't sure. Lily crouched down, pressing her small hands against the cold metal bars. Her father caught up, breathless. "Lily, honey, don't get too close. That dog's hurt. And scared." But she didn't move. She didn't flinch. Instead, she whispered, "Daddy. Look at his eyes." Her father sighed, glancing nervously at the injured dog. "Sweetheart, he's been through a lot." He's sad," Lily said softly. "And lonely." Rex let out a faint, shaky exhale, like he understood every word. The auctioneer's voice snapped through the air. $1. Anybody? No hands raised. Except Lily's. Her fingers tightened around her single, precious bill. "Daddy, I want him." The barn went silent. The barn seemed to fade into a blur around Lily. The chatter, the laughter, the shuffling boots, all of it vanished the moment she stepped closer to Rex's cage. She didn't see a damaged police dog. She didn't see the scars, the dried blood, or the trembling legs struggling to hold him up. She saw his eyes, big, brown, hurting eyes that looked straight into hers as if begging her not to walk away. Rex lifted his head an inch, fighting pain that pulsed through his ribs. No one else had earned that much effort from him today. But this tiny girl, barely half his height, stood there with a kind of courage he hadn't seen in months. She didn't step back when he moved. She didn't gasp. She didn't flinch. Her small fingers curled around the metal bars, not tight, not scared, just gently, offering comfort the only way she knew how. The dog leaned forward, nose trembling as if trying to catch her scent, searching for something familiar. "Something safe. Sweetheart," her father whispered again, hesitating. "He's been through terrible things. He's not like other dogs." But Lily shook her head softly. "He's not scary." Rex blinked. Slowly. Deliberately. As if agreeing. In that moment, a silent understanding passed between them, one deeper than words. Deeper than fear, deeper than the stale barn air pressing around them. Lily didn't see danger. She saw someone who had been hurt and thrown away. Rex didn't see a stranger. He saw the first person who looked at him with gentle eyes instead of pity or disgust. Then Lily did something no adult in that barn had dared to do. She reached one small hand through the cage. Rex froze, startled, unsure, and then, with unimaginable slowness, he lifted his paw and placed it gently in her palm. A collective gasp rippled through the barn. Lily smiled, her voice barely a whisper. "I choose him." The moment Lily's little hand wrapped around Rex's paw, the entire barn erupted, not with applause, but with laughter. Sharp, mocking, heartless laughter that bounced off the wooden beams like a cruel echo. "Oh, look at that!" a man snickered. "The kid wants the broken dog. Someone get her a stuffed animal instead?" Another voice chimed in, louder and meaner. "Honey, that thing's gonna cost more to fix than your daddy's truck." Lily tightened her grip on Rex's paw, her small jaw lifting in stubborn defiance. She wasn't scared, but she was angry. Angry in a way only a child with a pure heart could be. Her father stepped beside her, uncomfortable but protective. "All right, folks, that's enough," he muttered, trying to shield Lily from the ridicule, but the comments kept coming. Why bother with a dog that can't walk? Probably got kicked out of the police force for being useless. He's not worth $1. He's worth nothing. Rex shrank back at the noise, ears folding, body trembling. His heart hammered with old fears, shouting, pain, abandonment. He had learned to expect cruelty, but Lily scooted closer, pressing her hand through the bars again. "Stop yelling," she said, her voice trembling but brave. "You're scaring him." The crowd fell into an uneasy hush. Her father knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, you don't have to do this. There are other dogs, healthy dogs. Friendly dogs." Lily shook her head slowly. "I don't want another dog," she whispered. "I want him." Rex blinked at her words. And for the first time in hours, his tail moved just an inch. Just a tiny tap, but enough to show that her kindness had reached him. Lily looked up at her father, eyes shining with fierce determination. "He's not worthless," she said. "He's just hurting." And in that moment, everyone knew the little girl wasn't backing down. The auctioneer cleared his throat loudly, trying to regain control of the room after the sudden burst of laughter and Lily's unexpected bravery. He tapped his microphone twice, the sharp feedback silencing the barn. "Well then," he grumbled, eyeing the dog like a worthless piece of furniture. "We'll try this again. Starting price, $1. He paused, scanning the crowd for even a hint of interest. No one moved. No. One raised a hand. Not a single adult cared, but Lily did. She stepped forward, the wooden floor creaking under her tiny boots. Her small hand lifted high, clutching the crumpled, slightly torn dollar bill she had been saving for ice cream. "I bid $1. She said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was steady, braver than anyone expected from a 6-year-old. The barn fell silent again. The auctioneer blinked, stunned that a child was the only person willing to claim the broken dog lying in the cage. Little girl, you understand you're actually buying him, right?" he asked awkwardly. Lily nodded confidently. "Yes, sir." Her father sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Lily, sweetheart, are you sure you really want this dog?" Lily turned to him with eyes that shimmered with certainty. "He needs me, Daddy." Rex lifted his head slowly, painfully, and looked directly at Lily. His breathing hitched, his ears twitched, and his tail tapped once against the metal floor. The auctioneer looked around one last time. "Any other bids? Anyone at all?" Silence. Only the soft, hopeful breaths of a broken canine and the unwavering determination of a little girl. The auctioneer shrugged. "Sold to the young lady for $1. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lily stepped forward, clutching her father's hand tightly. She didn't just buy a dog, she saved a life. The moment the auctioneer's gavel struck the wooden block, a wave of laughter rolled through the barn, louder, sharper, and even crueler than before. People leaned on railings, slapped their knees, wiped tears from their eyes as if Lily's compassion were some kind of joke, $1 well wasted. One man jeered. "Good luck fixing that mutt," shouted another. "She bought herself a walking vet bill." The laughter stung the air, but Lily didn't flinch. She stood perfectly still, her tiny fingers wrapped around her father's hand, eyes locked on Rex's cage. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't scared. She was determined. Her father leaned down and whispered, "Honey, it's okay if you want to change your mind. We can—" "No," Lily said firmly, shaking her head. "I'm not leaving him." Rex's ears pressed flat against his head at the crowd's harsh noise. Trembling, he lowered himself to the floor, as if bracing for more cruelty. His world had been filled with shouts, orders, pain. Humans laughing at him was nothing new, but Lily stepped closer. "Stop laughing at him," she shouted, her little voice trembling but fierce. "He didn't do anything wrong." The barn went quiet, not because the adults felt guilty, but because no one expected a 6-year-old to defend a beaten dog with such fire. Rex lifted his head again, slowly, carefully. He watched the girl who refused to abandon him. Even when everyone else did, the auctioneer cleared his throat. "All right, folks, that's enough. Sale's done. Move on." People dispersed reluctantly, though some kept chuckling under their breath. Lily didn't care. She walked straight to the cage, knelt down, and slid her hand through the bars again. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe now." Rex's tail tapped once against the metal floor. For the first time in months. He believed it. The barn had emptied out, leaving behind only echoes and dust swirling through the slants of sunlight pushing in from the broken roof panels. Lily stood in front of Rex's cage, her small hands still threaded through the cold metal bars. Her father knelt beside her, worry tugging at his expression, but he didn't move her away this time. "All right," he sighed softly. "Let's get him out." A worker trudged over with a ring of keys, shaking his head. "Don't know why you want this one, kid," he muttered as he fumbled with the rusty lock. "He's only gonna bring trouble." Lily ignored him. Rex tensed when the worker approached. His muscles twitched, his ears flattened, and he tried to scoot farther back, but the cage was too small. His ribs brushed the metal, and he winced in pain. "It's okay," Lily whispered. "It's just the door." Click! The sound of the lock popping open echoed like thunder in the quiet barn. The worker pulled the cage door wide, but Rex didn't move. He stayed curled in the corner, trembling, unsure if freedom was another trick or another punishment. Lily didn't hesitate. She stepped forward before anyone could stop her and crouched low, keeping her hands visible and gentle. "Come here, boy," she said softly. "You're mine now." Her father's heart lurched. "Lily, careful." But Rex didn't growl, didn't snap, didn't show a single tooth. Instead, he lifted his head with agonizing slowness, meeting her eyes again. He sniffed the air, then Lily's jacket sleeve, as if confirming what he had felt earlier, that this tiny human meant him no harm. Shaking, he pushed himself up onto trembling legs. His paws slipped once, twice, but Lily held her hands out like a safety net. "It's okay," she whispered. "I've got you." And then it happened. Rex took one weak, painful step. Then another, and collapsed gently into Lily's arms as she wrapped herself around his neck. Gasps filled the barn entrance as a few onlookers watched in disbelief. The broken police dog had chosen her. And in that moment, everyone understood. Lily hadn't bought Tim for $1. She had saved him for a lifetime. Rex's weight collapsed into Lily so suddenly that her tiny knees buckled under him. Her father reacted instantly, reaching forward to steady both of them before the injured dog could fall. Rex let out a soft, choked whine, too weak to stand, too scared to trust his legs, yet desperate to stay close to the girl who had chosen him. "Easy, boy. Easy," Lily's father murmured, lowering himself to help support Rex's trembling body. Lily wrapped her arms around the shepherd's neck, her cheek pressed into his muddy fur. "You're okay," she whispered. "I'm not leaving you." The dog's breathing hitched, as if her words pierced through layers of fear he had been carrying alone for far too long. A few remaining workers paused to watch, their earlier mockery replaced by a stunned silence. Even they knew what they were seeing wasn't normal. This wasn't an animal resisting rescue. This was an animal surrendering. Finally feeling safe, Rex tried to take another step, but his hind leg gave out beneath him. He staggered sideways, crashing into Lily's father, who caught him by the chest. "Oh, buddy, you're hurting bad," he muttered, his voice thick with sympathy. Lily gently stroked Rex's muzzle, where old, dried blood clung stubbornly. "Daddy, we have to help him. Right now," her father nodded. "We will. But we need to get him out of here first." The dog lifted his head weakly, eyes flickering between Lily and the open barn doors, as if asking permission to hope. Lily placed her tiny hand on his paw. "Come home with me." Those were the words Rex needed. With a trembling exhale, he pushed himself upright again. Lily's father slid his arms under Rex's body, lifting him carefully despite the dog's size. Rex didn't resist. He didn't panic. He simply rested his head on the man's shoulder and kept his eyes locked on Lily the entire time. As they carried him out of the barn and into the sunlight, one truth became painfully clear. The rescue didn't begin when the cage opened. It began the moment a little girl raised her hand and saved a forgotten hero for $1. Word travels fast in small towns, and by the time Lily's father gently loaded Rex into the backseat of their truck, people at the auction had already begun whispering. Some watched with softened expressions, shaken by the sight of a beaten police dog clinging to a little girl for comfort. Others crossed their arms, shaking their heads in disapproval. As Lily climbed into the truck beside Rex, a woman muttered loudly, "That dog's dangerous." "Police dogs turn on people." A man added, "He was thrown out of the force for a reason. That little girl's daddy should know better." Lily heard them, but she didn't look away from Rex. She kept her hand on his paw, gently rubbing circles on his fur. "Ignore them," she whispered. "You're not bad." But not everyone criticized. An older gentleman approached the truck slowly, tipping his hat. "Miss," he said to Lily's father, "I remember that dog. He saved 2 deputies a few years back. He ain't dangerous, he's just hurting." Lily glanced up, hopeful. "See, Daddy, he's a hero." Her father sighed, torn. He looked at the man, then at his daughter, then at the trembling dog who refused to take his eyes off Lily. "A hero who almost died alone in a cage," he murmured. 2 women standing nearby overheard and immediately chimed in. $1 for a police dog? Something's wrong with that. They should have helped him, not sold him off like trash. But others only scoffed. "He'll never walk right again. He's nothing but a burden now." "That kid's gonna regret this," Lily finally spoke, her voice steady despite the noise. "I don't care what they say, he's mine." Rex lifted his head at her words, a weak thump of his tail brushing the seat. The town was split between fear and compassion, judgment and hope. But Lily had already chosen her side, and Rex had already chosen her. The ride home was quiet. Rex lay across the back seat with his head resting on Lily's lap, every breath shallow and shaky. Each bump in the road made him wince, and each time Lily gently stroked his neck to calm him. Her tiny fingers moved with a tenderness far beyond her age. "You're okay," she whispered. "You're coming home now." Her father kept glancing at the rearview mirror, concern etched deeply across his face. "Lily, he's badly hurt. We don't know if he's trained to be around kids anymore. You have to understand that." Lily didn't look up. She didn't need to. She lifted Rex's paw and held it tightly. "Daddy," she said softly, "he protected people his whole life. Now he needs someone to protect him." Rex's tail moved just a fraction, weak but intentional, when they finally pulled into the driveway. Lily didn't wait for her father to open the door. She slid out carefully, guiding Rex's head into her arms so he wouldn't fall. He tried to stand, but his legs buckled beneath him. Lily knelt beside him immediately, wrapping her arms around his neck. "You don't have to get up," she said. "I'm here." Her father hurried over, kneeling down to help. "Easy, big guy. We'll get you inside." Rex's eyes fluttered. For a moment, fear flickered through them, fear that he might be dropped, hurt, or abandoned again. But Lily leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently against his. "I'm not leaving you," she whispered. "Not ever." "I promise." Something changed in Rex. A trembling breath escaped him, his body slowly relaxing under Lily's touch. Pain still shadowed his eyes, but trust fragile, uncertain. But real began to glow beneath it. Her father watched the two of them and exhaled a long, heavy breath. "Well," he murmured, "a promise like that. I guess we better keep it." Lily nodded, her eyes shining, and Rex, broken, forgotten, nearly discarded, closed his eyes and let the warmth of her promise carry him into safety for the first time in months. The veterinarian's office smelled of antiseptic and soft lavender, the kind of place meant to calm frightened animals. But nothing could calm Rex at first. The moment Lily's father carried him through the doors, Rex trembled uncontrollably, his paws curling as if expecting another round of pain. Dr. Hallstrom, a middle-aged vet with gentle eyes, approached slowly. "Easy there, big guy," he murmured. "No one's going to hurt you here." Rex didn't believe him, not yet, but when Lily approached his side and rested her small hand on his cheek, Rex's trembling eased just slightly. His breathing steadied. His eyes softened. Dr. Hallstrom noticed instantly. "Ah," he whispered, "so she's your medicine." They lifted Rex onto the exam table carefully. Lily stood on a stool beside him, refusing to move even when her father tried to guide her away. "What's wrong with him?" she asked, voice fragile but steady. Dr. Hallstrom examined the dog gently, running practiced hands along Rex's ribs and legs. "He's underweight. Dehydrated, bruises everywhere. And this leg, he pressed lightly, and Rex whimpered, looks like an old fracture that never healed right. Lily's face fell. Can you fix him? The vet smiled softly. Some things, yes. Others will take time. But he's a fighter. He wants to get better. Rex lifted his head weakly and placed it in Lily's palm. The doctor wrapped his injuries, gave him fluids, cleaned his wounds. Rex winced, but each time he did, Lily stroked his fur and whispered, It's okay. I'm right here. Hours passed when Rex finally lay resting on a padded blanket. Lily curled up beside him on the floor, her head against his shoulder. He shifted ever so slightly, adjusting his body to keep her close. Dr. Haustrom watched them with a soft smile. He's healing, he told Lily's father. Not just because of medicine, he nodded toward Lily, but because someone finally gave him a reason to. Rex sighed deeply. His eyes drifting closed, not from exhaustion alone, but from finally feeling safe. Rex's recovery was slow, but every day brought a tiny miracle. First, he lifted his head on his own. Then he stood shaky but determined. A week later, he followed Lily across the living room, limping but refusing to give up. And through it all, Lily cheered for him like he was the bravest hero who ever lived. But no one expected what happened next. It was late afternoon, when Lily played in the backyard, humming softly as she drew chalk shapes on the old wooden deck. Rex lay nearby, dozing in the warm sun, his bandages loose now. His fur slowly regaining its shine, Lily giggled and hopped onto the next. Chalk square. The board snapped under her weight. Everything happened in a single terrifying second. The wood collapsed. Lily slipped sideways, her foot disappearing into the hole. And she screamed. Rex's eyes snapped open, all pain forgotten, all weakness erased. In one explosive movement, he surged to his feet and bolted toward her, moving faster than Lily's father could even shout her name. The German Shepherd leapt across the deck, landing beside Lily before she could fall farther. He positioned himself between her and the broken board's body, rigid. Ears forward, muscles coiled. Protective. Trained. Ready. Lily whimpered, gripping his fur. Rex let out a deep, commanding bark, one that echoed with the instinct and discipline of a police dog who had once saved officers from danger. Lily's father sprinted over, panic flooding his face. Lily, I'm okay, she gasped, tears in her eyes. Rex caught me. Her father froze, staring at the dog in awe. Rex didn't move until Lily was safely lifted into her father's arms. Only then did he step back, breathing hard, pain returning to his injured leg. But not once did he look away from her. Lily wrapped her arms around her father's neck and whispered, voice trembling, I told you. He's still a hero. And that day, the entire town would hear the abandoned $1 dog had saved a little girl's life. News of Rex's heroic acts spread through town like wildfire. Neighbors whispered, reporters called, and within days, the story of the $1 police dog who saved a little girl had reached the very people who once abandoned him, the police department. One afternoon, as Lily played in the yard with Rex resting loyally beside her, a black SUV rolled up the driveway. Two officers stepped out, one unfamiliar, the other instantly recognizable by the rigid posture and stern eyes. Chief Rawlings, the man responsible for sending Rex to the auction. Lily's father stepped onto the porch, tense. Can I help you? Rawlings cleared his throat. We're here about the dog? His eyes shifted toward Rex. We've realized we made a mistake. A valuable K9 like him shouldn't have been sold? Lily froze. Rex stiffened beside her, ears flattening. Her father's voice hardened. You had your chance to care for him. Rawlings ignored the comment. We'd like him back. Properly rehabilitated, he could serve again. We're prepared to compensate you. Lily rushed forward, arms thrown protectively around Rex's neck. No, she cried. You didn't want him when he was hurt? You left him. Rawlings frowned. Young lady, this is official police property. He's not property. Lily shouted through tears. He's my dog. Rex leaned against her, sensing her fear. His tail wrapped around her legs like a shield. His soft growl vibrated against her arms, not threatening, but warning. Her father stepped between them and the officers. You forfeited all rights when you sent him to die in a cage. He stays here. Rawlings hesitated. He wasn't used to being challenged before he could argue again. Rex limped forward and positioned himself beside Lily Loyal, unmoving, unafraid. The chief's expression changed. For the first time, guilt flickered across his eyes. He knew, they all knew, the dog had already chosen his family, and nothing, no badge, no law, no department was going to tear him away from the little girl who saved him for a single precious dollar. Chief Rawlings stood frozen, staring at the battered German shepherd standing proudly beside the little girl who bought him for $1. For a moment, the stern officer seemed to shrink under the weight of his own guilt. His voice, usually sharp and commanding, softened. You're right, he finally said. We failed him. Lily's arms remained wrapped around Rex's neck, her cheek pressed into his fur. She didn't trust the chief, not after what he'd done. But she listened. Rawlings exhaled heavily. I reviewed his file. Rex saved 9 officers, protected civilians, took injuries he never should have faced alone. He paused, swallowing. We should have honored him, not abandoned him. Lily's father crossed his arms. So why are you here now? Rawlings looked at Rex not as a tool, but as a soldier. Because I wanted to see with my own eyes what loyalty looks like. When it comes back to you. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folder. I'm signing over full ownership of Rex to your family, he said. No conditions. No claims. He belongs with the people who truly care for him. Lily gasped. He's really mine? Rawlings nodded. Yes, he deserves love. And clearly. He found it. Rex let out a soft whine and nudged Lily, almost as if he understood the moment. Lily hugged him tighter, tears of pure joy streaming down her cheeks. The chief stepped closer, lowering himself to Rex's level. Thank you for saving that little girl, he whispered. You're still a hero. Rex blinked slowly, then rested his muzzle gently on the chief's knee, an unexpected gesture of forgiveness. When the SUV finally pulled away, Rex watched it go with calm eyes. Then he turned back to Lily, his tail thumping softly against the grass. She grabbed his face with both hands and smiled through her tears. You're home forever, she whispered. Rex leaned into her, eyes closing, not from exhaustion but from peace, for the first time since his injury. He felt whole again, not because he was healed, but because he was loved.